Aloha, all my moneymakers out there. This is Indar Lang, and I'm your Hawaii Money Guy. We have an exciting episode today, and we're going to talk about how to start a company and what it takes. Starting a company is sometimes your biggest fear out there, but it's a very simple process, and we'll dive on into why and how and what to do to start your very own company. So let's go. First of all, the biggest trick to financial freedom is to like and follow and subscribe. I'm going to be sharing the step-by-step processes to starting an LLC, buying a house, all the steps to doing this business of real estate. So like and subscribe. Check out our YouTube channel. We're going to go in depth on YouTube and to really dive into how to do this business from A to Z. Just really educate you and show you an insight. So like and subscribe and check out our YouTube. Let's go. It could be a daunting task at first. I'm sure it sounds kind of like a big thing. You know, I got to do this. And you think company, you think of Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all these employees and all these kind of people. Really, starting a company is a very simple process. There is so much benefits to do it. You should just have it started, even if you possibly even not using it. I have companies that I've started that we've not even used. So to qualify myself, I think we have over about 14 different companies that we registered and started and created. We start companies just solely sometimes for asset protection. Obviously, there's parts of taxes, there's parts of tracking expenses with businesses and things of all these different natures to start a company. There are so many different types of companies you can start it. But you often hear, it's pretty popular nowadays, is an LLC, a limited liability company. And a limited liability company means what it says it is. You are limited and liable for some of the different things. It's a great way to kind of protect yourself. And this is a huge reason to start a company, especially if you have any rental properties or any kind of businesses or any kind of ways, you know, potentially something can happen. You know, somebody slips and falls, or you have a business that somebody slips and falls and walks in your business, whatever it may be. It's just a great way to protect yourself. Diving on into it, there's 3 great states to really start your companies in. And to backdate, the reason you want to possibly start your company into Nevada, Delaware, or Wyoming is they have a great corporate veil. And what a corporate veil means is, again, in case if you do everything up and legitly and legally and something happens, you are still protected. They cannot see who owns these companies. So we started our LLC in Nevada. That's where we started our first company, actually, just for that corporate veil, just to be able to protect ourselves from, you know, a flip or a rental. You're dealing with, you gotta be ready for worst case. So it was just a no-brainer for us, especially in real estate in general, to have this corporate protection, this corporate veil, this veil that you are 100% protected as long as you do anything above bar, you know, everything legal. If you start doing anything kind of squirrely or fishy or anything illegal, then they can pierce the corporate veil. So you don't want to get pierced. But that's the whole incentives to start in these different states, as well as the Nevada, for example, has you do not pay any income tax. So you can get technical and you can bring in all your income into Nevada for your real estate, your properties, and now you're not going to pay any tax there for the state income tax. Federal across the board doesn't matter, obviously, but now you're not paying any state income tax. So you can charge, you know, if you want to work around, you can make your money in Hawaii, and then Nevada company, you are paying a management fee or a marketing fee to this company, and you can pay your, you know, work your taxes differently that way. So Wyoming, we've started a company in Wyoming. Here's some of the things you got to look out for too, by the way. And for example, when we started in Wyoming, you have to have an office there, as well as Nevada. You have to have an office there. But these websites that we use, you can pay for that service. So you have to have an office or an address there. So you can use their address or their office in these different states, and that way you can be able to start companies in these different states. So you either will forward your mail to your Hawaii location or whatnot. And then Delaware is another great state. Delaware is where all the big companies are started out of. You'll see Pepsi, Coca-Cola, any big company. If you ever read on the back of the bottle can, it's all incorporated in Delaware. So Delaware is a huge state for some of the big boys up there. Great for large corporations and so forth. But those are your three major states that you want to incorporate. If you're buying a car, side hustle, if you're buying a car, you want to do Montana. Montana doesn't pay any, you don't have any sales tax with cars, and you can be a registered living, and you have to register you live in there in Montana. There's companies that you can use to do that. So this side hustle, if you're buying a car, you want to use Montana to buy the car and register it in. So why do you start a company and how come? The first of all is, of course, for the protection, but second is now you can create a separarity of everything you do. You have a company now, and maybe you do work a full-time job and you have a normal life job, but now you can start using your company for some tax write-offs. You have a full-time job over here, and you have a company over here that's potentially making some money. You do want to try and make some money in your company, but say you haven't even made any money in your company. You can start running things through your company. So when you start a company, you're going to also go and register a bank account with your local bank. You'll go to, here in Hawaii, Bank of Hawaii, Central Pacific Bank, whatever. You're going to take your company docs and you're going to go open a bank account. You can actually do it online. It's super easy to do. It takes you maybe 15 minutes at the most. So you'll start a bank account for that company. And you're going to start paying things through that bank account. You're going to pay for gas, pay for your cell phone bill, pay for different things that cost to run any company. And these are general stuff you can use to pay for general company. Some of your meals, any kind of marketing, some of the general expenses it costs. It's some travel. Say you do real estate, we travel, and when I look at a house in Idaho. So I pay for all my travel, I pay for my hotels, I pay for my car, all through my company, and then it is written off as an expense. So that expense, and say you had a loss, that company had a loss at the end of the year because you only have expenses, you didn't have any income, now can be offset to your W-2 income. So just having a company and start running money through that company, legitly you want to have, expenses that correlate to what you do. If you're a photographer, for example, you're writing off your photography equipment, you're writing off some of the different travel that you do to a place to take pictures, or you're writing off a write-off guide, by the way, is this expense. You're keeping track of that expense. You're paying that money from that business bank account. And it's just separating some of these expenses that you would normally be paying anyway to try and start building this company, start building this entity. You're just offsetting and moving it over to this bank account. So you're just using a different bank card. That's all. You probably want to do a company loan too. Actually, if you want to start running some expenses from that, you do a personal loan to that. So you can do things like that. But it's really now helping you hugely, immensely with not paying potential high taxes. And even if you guys think at the end of the year you don't pay any taxes or you're not getting anything back, you have a W-2 job, any of that, some of that federal and state taxes that you've been paying to, if you have a loss, you can potentially be getting some of that back too. So if you do your taxes right, a little technical in there and some of that stuff with depreciation and so forth, but just by opening your company in general and starting it is a huge step forward. And don't worry about the names, don't worry about what to do and how to do it. You can literally go on to LegalZoom and a bunch of other sites to start Prime Corporate Services, Inkfile, I think it's called. There's a bunch of them. You just click, and they go through the process. And if you don't know some of the steps in there, one of the steps in there is what type of company are you opening. Try and just be deliberate and click and pick the things that I think it's FI or something, whatever. They're asking you what type of entity and what type of company are you going to be. So just try and be understanding what exactly are you doing. So are you doing real estate? Are you a real estate investor? Are you buying rentals? Are you buying hold? Are you, what are you doing exactly? Are you doing photography? Are you doing any kind of, I don't know, any other industry, hair? Are you hairstylist? Whatever. So just be picking those deliberate files. It's easiest, I think, to start off for an LLC. If you guys are starting off, what kind of company to pick? There's LLCs, there's S corps, there's INCs, there's incorporated, there's C corps. So you can file an LLC just for the protection of an LLC, but you can actually file your taxes as a S corp later on when your company starts making money. If you're not making money off the bat too much, LLC is just fine, and to file as an LLC, basically you're going to be paying taxes through that company. But if you're not making too much money up front, don't worry about that part of it. Later on, you're going to file as an S corp, meaning you're going to now become an employee of that company, and you're just taking a payroll. You're not making all that income. You just take a payroll, and then that company files its own taxes. Just different tax strategies of it all. If you really want to dive into it, we can actually. To dive into it more is if you're paying employee taxes, it's a very low taxes. It's 4 or 5%. It's very low taxes to be paid compared to your company paying its company taxes, its corporate taxes. It's a lot higher tax brackets, 10, 12, 15%, even up to 40% sometimes, depending on what tax bracket you're in. So you can definitely be paying just your simple employee taxes, and now just burdens your company from not paying. Say you pay yourself $100,000 a year. Now your company doesn't have to pay that $100,000 a year. You can pay yourself $100,000 a year. And if you do an S corp, you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary too. So don't be paying yourself $5,000 a year. You're supposed to be paying yourself a reasonable salary, what somebody would be getting paid in your position. So be careful with all these kind of things. You do want to watch out for that. But yeah, so just start an LLC. It's easiest to start. You can do incorporated, you can do S corp and C corps, but you necessarily don't need those right off the bat. And you can start an LLC and file as those types of brackets anyway, which is easy to do, and so forth. When you do start an LLC, they're going to give you two big important documents you really need three. You're going to go first. You should actually first do this, is register and get an EIN number. An EIN number is your federal tax identification number. It's your Fed ID number. And it's just like your social security number. It's just for your company. You can go register that. You should just try and do that first. You can do it on these sites, and they charge you. Honestly, they charge you, I don't know, $100 or something. But it's really easy to do. So if you don't want to get charged and you want to save the money, go register your own federal ID number. And then right on that site, actually, you can start seeing what names are available. If you're in search for a company name, you're trying to be a trendy name, you can just look on the federal ID number website right then and there and see what's available. Or you can do it through one of these websites as well that you're registering the company as well through. It normally takes a day or two for them to get back to you, but on the federal ID site, you can see what company names are available right away. If they're rental properties, just keep it simple. We just use the address and put something after it or something simple. You don't have to think it through too much. You don't want to ever put your name on any of these company names. You don't want to name it after yourself, or you do want to keep it discreet. The reason you are starting these companies is to take your name off of it. So try not to use your name on it. Anything that can bring it back to you, not unless you're maybe a photography company or some kind of company that you want to use your last name or your first name. But in generally, try to stay away from your name. And also, I would recommend not to use the state you're in any part of the name. Think about branding yourself. If you are Hawaii, this or that, how are you going to bring that name to the mainland? How are you going to make that nationwide? You could use Hawaii, but some of the other names being like a very Hawaiian long name or something simple. Just think branding. Think of a name that can be used nationwide in other states, and you can open a company in other states. So that's something to think about. To each his own, of course. But it's a very simple process. You're going to go through the website and you're just going to click, and go through to register your company. You're going to get two other documents. You get your federal tax ID number, and then you're going to get a articles of incorporation, and that's just saying all the people and who's incorporated in that. If it's just you, you're 100% managing member. You can have a partner as your wife. You guys can be 50-50. So the articles of incorporation is going to talk about that, who's the members, what the shares, what they own. But again, this is all generated really quickly and easy through these websites. You just need to save these files and then, of course, sign them at the very end. And then you also get an operating agreement, and the operating agreement actually talks about some very similar stuff as well. It's all basically done for you in there. If you have partners, you can specify some of the little things in there. It's really, really simple to do if you have a partner and so forth as well. I think we just started a company today for just a property we're buying on its own, and we wanted to just keep it all in its own LLC. So there's 4 members on this deal, and that way we just keep it private. No one could see who owns this property. We are buying the property. We don't want people to know too much about it. We want to keep it all private. So yes, we're starting an LLC. Then we can have its own bank account. You can track all the expenses very easily, and you can work out of that bank account very easily and so forth, or just manage it so much better. Another huge reason to it all is the tracking and management of your bank account. Now your accountant, whoever, can just see clearly that all these expenses are just for business-related expenses, compared to if you're trying to run a company and your personal account and your business account are one bank account. It's very hard to sometimes break it apart, and you run into commingling in that sense. So it's hard to justify maybe an accountant to look through your personal bank statements, who said this was for what or that's for what. So when you have a company bank account that's run for your company and that's used just for your company, you pay yourself a salary or dividend distribution. That way you can live and pay off your own stuff separately that are not business expenses. And by the way, your own home can be a part of your business expense. You have a home office, you can take 10% of your rent. So anyone out there who is getting 1099, go start your own LLC. And that way you can start having write-offs and things, because when you get 1099, you're just going to get a big lump sum at the end of the year of $50,000, and you're going to need write-offs. And the best way to have write-offs is to have an LLC that you're tracking or you're spending out of, and so forth. So best places is, again, to open an LLC: Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming. Any 3 is great. Wyoming, Nevada are super easy. I use them a lot. I kind of go back and forth. You do got to register the company here back in Hawaii or any other state that you are doing business in. So don't forget that, actually. So you do have to register it back into the state that you are doing business in. So, if you're buying houses in Hawaii, you have to register your company in Hawaii. If not, you have to pay out-of-state taxes. Or if you're doing a lot of the other states, we have to also go and register into those states. So you are technically registering in 2 different states, but most importantly is where that company was incorporated. Where was that company started? So just to keep that in mind, that you think you started in Nevada and you're fine, you do have to register in the state of Hawaii. So if you're in the state of Hawaii right now, you have to register a company. Just go for I think it's a BB1 form. It's a pretty easy form. It does take a little while for the state to do it. I think it took me a week last time, but they might be down to a couple of days to register a company with the state. It costs you $50, so you do want to register your company, especially if you're doing real estate. You don't want to be paying out-of-state taxes as well. It's huge. It's like 15%. So register in Hawaii, have an address, and so forth. And the last part is to define your goals of the company, what you want to use it for, what's it going to be used for, and strictly keep it for that. Stay motivated behind what your goals are and keep pushing forward. I think just by creating the LLC is a great place to start. Some little ninja hacks on the side. Use Fiverr, Fiver, Fiverr, or Upworks to get some other company things you might be really worried about. Not big of a deal, but if you want to go get a logo, use Fiverr to pay. I use Fiverr to pay for 20 different logos from $5 a piece, and we picked one of the 20. Or we got a voicemail set up from somebody on Fiverr, or you can get a business plan done. We have a business plan made. I just dabble in everything to try it. So you can have a business plan made up. That's great to use if you're going to go to talk to a bank. So you can pay somebody on Fiverr, $5-10 to make this business plan for you. What else they can do? Logo, ringtone, ring jingle, little marketing whiteboard thing I've tried. They made something on there. So you just dabble in all these different kinds of stuff. And then potentially, when I first started, we went and got my own cell phone that was work related only, but to have a catchy number. So think about that if you want to have a cell phone separate. I canceled that myself because I just want one phone. I don't be carrying around two phones. So I did cancel that. And I already have a catchy number, 989-2323. So I only wanted one phone. I didn't want to carry around two phones. But think of that. There's other dialers and stuff you can use for that kind of stuff. But get out there, just create a company, spend 30 minutes. It's literally fast. It costs you $300, maybe $200 to $300, depending if what services you want to do yourself and whatnot. It's definitely worth it to have some kind of protection, and especially if you're just thinking of starting off, just go do it and worry about it later. You can also, here's a little side hack too as well, is when we purchase a home, we will buy it in one company name, and then we'll put an and or assignee, because if it's a rental property, we want to change it to be held into a rental portfolio as well. So that way we can change the company. We can go register a company name and move it to that name. So we buy it in our main holding company, and we register a new rental property into that holding names. And just so you know how we structure a lot of our stuff, we have our flipping company and does most of our flips and everything. If a flip is kept as a rental, then we'll either refinance and put it into the rental holding company, or we'll move it over through quitclaim deeds or whatever we may need to into the rental holding companies. And we have different rental holding companies. So we have property on the Big Island. We have with my brother, so we have its own rental holding company there. We have Oahu, we have our rentals here. And then in Connecticut, we have its own rental. So they all live in their own LLC. Pennsylvania has its own LLC. We have properties in Pennsylvania. We're buying Wisconsin. We have two rental properties in two rental holding companies. So we're buying another set of rentals in Milwaukee that fell through, and I have an LLC that we started for that, and it's just sitting. So it costs us a couple $100, but we didn't use it. And then I created another LLC just for this large asset we're buying. And that way we'll just have its own bank account. The money will come in through that bank account and live in that bank account. And almost create a war chest. And it's, what's great about it, it keeps discipline too. So now you have that account, you don't touch it. You don't have to worry about it. It just builds, and it's secretly building behind your back, which is helping. Obviously, all the bills are paid from that account. All the income is also came into that account. So it just kind of runs its own little cycle of world. It makes it a lot easier to keep discipline, as well as keep a war chest build up for these accounts as things have happened, and it keeps easier for taxes as well. So the last segment, what is the investor and our investor insight? A question we have for Steve: what are the 3 books that change your life? You know what? The answer everyone always says is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book, of course, definitely changes your mindset. I think I was read for me at the right turning point in my life when I was in college. Of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad just changes your mindset. But for me, some of the big books early on as a kid, I just was really into self-help as a kid. And it wasn't that popular. I think now it is very popular now, but I didn't like to read books that storytelling or anything. I wanted to only read a book that would help me better myself. As a young kid, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I remember I was like a little kid reading that book, and that was so interesting to me because I learned about using people's names, shaking hands, business cards, and some of the basic stuff that I hold today. So just keep growing and learning. Another trick I do, I listen to books on tape very fast, 1.5, 1.25, depending on the speaker. And I'll listen to books on tape constantly. I actually don't even listen to the radio when I drive anymore. Most of the time it's a book on tape, sometimes a podcast or YouTube. Follow our YouTube, listen to our YouTube. You should just be educating yourself and growing. That, or I just turn off the radio and I drive in silence and I think. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course. I really love The Goal. If you guys haven't read The Goal, definitely changes your mindset to everything you're doing. What is the goal? What is the purpose? And then make sure you understand what's a bottleneck to getting to that goal. I love it because I love setting goals and loving setting intentions out there. There's so many great books out there. I can't think off the top of my head. They keep changing, I guess, for me. I can't even think. I could read you some of the books I am literally looking at right now. Rocket Fuel, reading right now. 1 Million Followers, I'm trying to read as well. It's a great book to growing your your social media. I can tell you current books, but some of the older books are definitely great. You know what I liked was Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal. I just love that the structure and how they set up deals and so forth. The E-Myth was a huge one, systemizing your business and help growing your business. Any kind of book that you guys can really jump behind and feel like he's talking to you is, a good book. And we're all different. So, look at that. Look at what it takes to really jump behind your feel. Let me just spit out some great books then. The 10X Rule was great by, of course, 10X Rule. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Great book. The E-Myth by Michael Garber. Great book. Never Split the Difference. Another great book. Traction for any business people who are building your business. It's a great book. Traction really helped. And as well as Profit First. Profit First, if you own your business and you're flipping now, definitely read Profit First. Game changer for sure on how to pay yourself and so forth. Who Not How. Everyone refers to that book all the time. Ready, Aim, Fire, another good one. I read also a spiritual book in the morning. I have different spiritual books I read in the morning, kind of quotes or daily thoughts or things to work on. It has one for every day of the year, and then I journal write as well my goals and the things I working on, as well as I take the time to say the things I'm thankful for to God and what I'm very thankful for every day. So definitely take the time, work on yourself. There's no one else going to do this for you in life. There's no one going to help you and talk to you and tell you what to do. It's going to take you to take the action. So get out there, definitely take the action. Start pushing, pushing yourself for sure. Upcoming events. I'm speaking at Brandon Turner's Better Life event in the REI Summit on Maui on May 22nd to 23rd. So anyone not coming to the event, check out the Better Life event. Super excited to be at that event. It's going to be a fun event. Better Life coming at you. I've been involved in that group. I love Brandon and that guy has such the littlest things I take away are huge sometimes. Register at the event at abetterlife.com and check out that event. We have our own events coming up. We're going to do another bigger event coming up, I think, later on in April. I think we have something, April or May. And then we'll do another meetup as well for you guys, and then some online events. So stay tuned. Check our community page. We're going to start keeping you guys updated. Log onto our community page and log into what events we have coming up. That way you can stay in the loop. I'm trying to create bigger events and bigger speakers like Brandon or whoever, bigger type of person that I can bring value to you guys. There's enough amazing people out there that I think we can really place some great events for you guys. So super excited about that. Of course, we have some deals to fund. We still got to fund our Janesville. Still got to close on that thing. And we have a few other deals I think just got locked up today. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Aloha.